we're back and I'm faceless right now. I had a little bit of a difficulty getting to the stream. What I mean by that is I was pinching one off before this one was about to begin, and I made it back just in time. And holy shit, now we have an actual feed. There we go. Okay, beautiful. Well, maybe not so beautiful. Rough night last night, but all good. Plenty of things to talk about today. You know, we got new all-time highs in traditional markets amongst many other things. Holy fucking shit. Bitcoin still hanging around 80,000 bucks. And in fact, there are some, I guess a little bit more, what's called good signs in the short term here. You know, Bitcoin trying for that higher low. I still think it is a game of higher lows for Bitcoin, but ultimately, you know, with the rest of the market rallying to new all-time highs, especially at the end of this week, that is an overall good sign. And I just don't want to be like being bearish on anything right now is not the right call. It's more so finding the ones that are going to do well more in comparison to other ones during an environment like this. And holy fucking shit, man. I mean, this it just doesn't stop. It really just doesn't stop. I'm boomer maxing, man. Let's fucking go straight into SPY futures the whole goddamn time. Anyways, I see a lot of familiar faces here. I see a lot of super chats already too, which is like super crazy actually. I mean, it's good obviously, but my god, man, already kind of building them up to start off this stream, which is good. Blue Mountain Fire says the coin will set you free. The coin is setting us free indeed, sir. It is setting us free. Hype in the chat, boys. Hype in the chat, says Jaden. Fuck yeah, man. We need some more hyping action. And I should also let you know today is going to be the last ever, okay, I don't know about ever, but last probably ever, hopefully ever live stream from this room. We are moving into the new studio. We have a table. We have a lot of things ready, and I'm going to be using these next few days, you know, as off days to set everything up. Man, I'm so fucking excited. This room that I'm in right now, it's right above my garage, and I actually didn't know this, but apparently, any sort of rooms above garages, they just heat up like a fucking Satan's asshole, man. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. In case you didn't know, and in case you happen to give a fuck, every time I record a video here, every time I do a live stream, I'm a sweaty fucking pig afterwards. It's disgusting. Maybe you can already tell, but we shall persevere. Anyways. Oh yeah, we got the Bitcoin dominance ring of utter bearishness. You know, the funny thing is, man, I don't want to sound like I'm talking shit about this person, but like, you can look at Bitcoin dominance all you want, and it doesn't fucking matter. Okay, is it bearish? Is it bullish? I mean, technically, I guess it's bullish here, but ultimately, it doesn't fucking matter. What you're using it for is not even showing up, or it's not that it's not showing up in this chart. It's just not valuable using this chart. What's up, Machine of Crypto? Appreciate that, man. I'll get to that in a moment, just after I finish this point. But look, man, there have been plenty of shitcoins that have rallied, you know, had crazy rallies. There have been more so many shitcoins that have gone straight down. At the end of the day, looking at Bitcoin dominance is an irrelevant fucking metric. It will lead you astray. The best thing to do if you're going to play in the shitcoin fucking gutter, which, hey, it's your call, I guess, is, of course, to look at your favorite shitcoin on its own merits, not versus Bitcoin dominance. If Bitcoin dominance is bullish, does that mean I'm going to be bearish on shit? I mean, I'm generally going to be bearish on shitcoins to begin with, but if Bitcoin dominance going down, you know, even during that small stint that we saw in July of last year, did it really help the shitcoins? No, it didn't. So at the end of the day, you got to look at what is actually in front of your face, which is either your favorite shitcoin versus the dollar or versus Bitcoin. You know, however, which way you want to measure it, that's fine. But the more specific you are, the better it will be. Looking at something like this, just, it's like, not only that, but you can't even fucking trade this chart. Like, oh God, it grinds my gears so much. I don't know why. It's obviously my issue, but goddamn, man, it's like, why is there such a focus on this chart? Have people not clued in that this has zero fucking signal at this point? It has zero fucking signal. It hasn't for actually multiple years, in fact, too. It's actually insane. It's actually insane. But hey, who am I to say that, man? I mean, shit, man. Like, that's probably one of the most popular channels, and people, you know, eat that shit up. So fucking go for it, man. That's just social media at work now, isn't it? It's just social media at work. But yeah, I'll just quickly read this over here because a massive super chat from Machine of Crypto. Holy fuck, man. Thank you for that, sir. It's been a long time, Sir Krown. Good morning to you, sir, as well. I'm back with a vengeance. Fuck yes, I'm feeling it too, man. This last week or two, I felt that same thing, man. I feel like there's a fire in the belly. I feel really motivated to really go deep into, you know, I mean, obviously we've gone deep into long-term investments, you know, to kind of switch around this channel, but also just, you know, getting better at YouTube. Like there's no excuse anymore. Like anything you want to get good at, you can just get good at. So instead of like having to pay, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it is to, you know, consult with, you know, YouTube experts, now you just have it for 20 bucks with a Claude subscription, and it's actually incredibly useful. Anyways, you're up 500,000 this week. Fucking yes, via options. Even more yes. Love options, love making money, and I'm sending love back to you as well, sir. That's awesome, man. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so fucking glad to hear that. You got two of my favorite things right there. Making money and making money with options. Fucking yes, man. Making money with options. Just, I don't know what it is, but it's so sad. It's so satisfying. It's so satisfying. I love it, man. I love it. More power to you, man. 500,000 bucks is no small chump change. Congratulations, man. I hope that serves you well. And of course, you know, once you make that bread, as the kids say, or as the urban population says, I don't know, man, put some of that in fucking boring ass ETFs and just let it compound over time. You know, maybe not at the exact moment, but you know, overall DCAing for the long term, never necessarily a bad thing to do with some of those excess profits. I mean, generally, probably not gonna be able to spend 500,000 bucks in one place anyways, unless if you got a shit ton of hookers and a shit ton of blow and maybe a Lambo in between there. But look, man, maybe do that a few times, but you're going to get bored of it real fucking fast, man. That is awesome. Again, congratulations to you. 500,000 is fucking sweet. TTG Cosilio says, you said every quarter to sell your losers and buy your winners. My winner is SNDK, but don't want to buy at this level. Can you elaborate more on that tweet? Yeah. So when it comes to long-term investments, the best, okay, let me first explain the setup here. So the best advice that I ever received was very early in my life. I was probably in my early 20s when I received this particular advice. I believe, yeah, this was like literally when I was on the floor of New York Stock Exchange ARCA, and these were, you know, really traders. But I don't know what the topic came around or why we were talking about, because, you know, most people there are not long-term investors, obviously. But someone said, or maybe they're referencing another person who said, every quarter, sell your losers and buy your winners. Or maybe they said that that's what hedge funds do, and that actually helped us out within the context of trading. I forget the originator of you know, where I got that from, but the knowledge is still incredibly useful when it comes to long-term investments. Every quarter, and honestly, like every month is probably good as well. That is when I like to look at my stocks that are underperforming and I just sell them. If they're underperforming, especially if they're negative during a period of overall bullishness, I'll just sell them. I'll just generally sell them. Maybe I won't sell at the whole position if I really don't, you know, want to. But if they are singular stocks, I will sell them, and then I will go buy something that is winning. Now, you don't necessarily need to buy your winners. You can buy another winner. So, you know, an example of this would be kind of what I was just alluding to with Machine is that, look, long-term, is this a winner, SPY? Yes, it's obviously a winner. Do I want to DCA into that, you know, if I'm going to take some of those losers and put it over here? Probably a better do than most other things. I agree with you. SNDK, you know, keep, you know, it's an impressive rally. It's a very impressive rally. It probably even has some more new highs to go. In fact, I probably wouldn't be looking for the top to be in at least until we get into summer, you know, Q3, but you are chasing the last fumes of this rally. I mean, every time frame is very, very hot right now. So hot, so crazy, so impressive. And yes, I do think it goes for more, but you know, if you're thinking long-term, you know, managing positions for 5, maybe even 10 years, you know, do I want to enter in right here? I mean, I guess a little bit is not, you know, it wouldn't be the worst thing if you are that long term, but you should expect to go underwater. Generally like to spread out those sort of things with major ETFs that have more like long-term viability, long-term history of success. That's kind of the way that I look at that. When it comes to something like this, this is, to be fair, right now it is unproven, right? Because it is relatively new and it's just been a straight vertical bar, which we've seen, you know, you see the same thing in like a new shitcoin, right? It goes parabolic and then it comes back down. So generally you want to choose something that's been, you know, has a better history over a long period of time. But yeah, spreading that out and just getting that money out of the loser and putting it into something that is winning, that is the idea. Now, some people will slyly say, but why would I sell low and then buy high? Well, because your fucking sell low is a loser and is probably going to lose more over time. And look, sometimes that's not going to be the case. Every once in a while, yeah, a loser does become a winner. It does happen. But I can assure you, after doing this now for quite some time, it is going to be in your best interest to do that almost every time, if not every time. I mean, it's going to keep you alive longer. People let their fucking losers put a bullet in their goddamn brain. They let them kill themselves with their fucking losers. And the worst thing you could do is possibly take one of your winners and then go put it into a loser. Whenever you have a winner and you're going to take some profits out of that, you either keep it in a money market, if you really don't want to be in markets, or put it into one of the major indices and just let it work for you over time. Again, I'm speaking to the long-term investors right now, not to the short-term traders. Completely different story, completely different thing. But yeah, I agree with you. I probably wouldn't want to buy SNDK at these prices, even though I do think it does go higher. I would choose a different winner. It doesn't necessarily need to be your winner. It could be just a winner, something that has a better setup, basically. Goddamn Krown, why did you start without me? We will start it from the top. From the top, we must begin again for hoy hoy. No man left behind. No man left behind. But yeah, man. It is what it is. And like I said, man, look, I'm not talking shit about Ben Cowan or nothing like that. At the end of the day, he's found his niche in talking about Bitcoin dominance. And I imagine that he's probably just talking about it because people fucking love it, man. They eat it up. He's a smart guy. He probably knows that it's completely fucking irrelevant, as are most shitcoins in general. And if anything, this thing is bullish here. I mean, this is literally a macro higher low, but look, most shitcoins are going to go down anyways, and there's going to be a handful that have massive lunar rallies, lunar inspired rallies. So I would say to that, again, it's just better to look at, your favorite shitcoin versus the dollar versus Bitcoin. That's the way that you're going to figure out if it's actually good or not, or worth getting into, into the, one of the few times, I suppose. But yeah, man, it is there. It does happen. And El Satoshi is here as well. Bullish on hookers and blow. Yeah, great. Just invite them over, especially while my parents are here too. That's perfect. We have Mother Days coming up, and what does mom love more than hookers and blow? Incredible. You know what my mom actually does love? So usually in case you didn't know, my parents actually living at my house right now. They've been searching for houses, blah, blah, blah. But basically every night, myself and Elsa, we get into the right mindset, if you will. And of course we imbibe in legal substances that make you have funny laugh, haha times. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed watching recently is a channel that farts. And there's this guy who he walks up to people and then he farts and then he walks away, and it's all on videotape. It's very, very funny. It's very, very hilarious. And my mom, who will sometimes stay up with us at night, she will watch that and she will just die of laughter. And this is like a very conservative woman who, she would think of herself as above this type of nonsense. But yeah, she's having the best fucking time. Listen to fart funny, haha jokes, and I couldn't love it more, man. It's great. It's fucking great. Trump just came out of the closet. Okay, cool, nice. What is he coming out as? That's a real question, I guess. All right, should we get into some Bitcoin price action here? What are these emails about? Get these fucking emails out of my face. A lot of the things that we've spoken about over the past 24 to 48 hours are still very much in play here, so I don't really have too much to update with that, with Bitcoin in particular. There are a couple of new pieces of information. This is now speaking only to the short-term people right now, and that is over here on the Central Command terminal. If we go to the Markets tab and go to the Alpha tab right here, we can see that the funny rate actually, it's positive again. Okay, it was negative for a second, now it's positive again. So yeah, I was going to say there's potential for a bit of a higher low here for Bitcoin. I'd still be on the other side of that. I think Bitcoin pulls back a little bit more. Overall, Bitcoin probably okay, but in the short term, does Bitcoin try for a higher low here? It would be quite aggressive in my opinion. I do think that you get at least a move back down somewhere around about $78,000. $78,000 has a lot of meaning and implications, because as long as Bitcoin's above it, it does still maintain its very nice and beautifully constructed uptrend. That is, of course, if we go over here, holy shit, did I not bring it up? No, there it is. The Rev and Ribbons indicator, that is where the mid band is as of this moment, low $78,000 territory. So as long as Bitcoin's closing over there, the current uptrend is still intact. You've seen it play off of these boundaries for many times throughout this whole move. And if Bitcoin does lose it, then I look for, perhaps a deeper pullback. In that case, very likely low 70s, maybe upper 60s. We're talking about like a 10% move or more, in which personally, I will be looking at that as an opportunity. Overall, is Bitcoin going to, crash from here and go to new lows? It's not necessarily my main prognosis. I do think that Bitcoin has another try to the upside into the mid 80s. I still think that that is rather likely. That is based off of course, this setup right here, which is, well, actually, this is among one of them, but I was going to bring up the corrective 5 versus 21 EMA setup, which we've called out many times this week. But it is there, and we still do have a minimum target up to the green 55 EMA, which is right now 84,750. Again, that is a minimum target. I do think that Bitcoin could wake up a little bit higher than that, but that's kind of where I'm looking for on this rally in the back of my mind as a likely landing point. Does it happen on this bar? Does it happen on the next? Does it take a few bars? Perhaps something like that. But ultimately, I do think Bitcoin's range is really setting in here, and we are going to see the range high somewhere around, let's just call it 85, and the range low probably somewhere around about 65 right here. And anywhere between there, I look at as overall long-term good for Bitcoin for putting in a macro low here. However, that does imply that, if you do test the top side of the range, probably going to sell off, probably going to come back down, try for a higher low. And you do have this nice trend line governing the past few higher lows coming in around actually low 70s right now. So if Bitcoin were to fail, more importantly, below the Rev and Ribbons mid-band, I would keep in mind that there is real potential downside of about 10% to 70,000 bucks, a little bit more than 10% to be fair. Somewhere around 70,000 bucks, I think would probably be a good do. And personally, I'd look at that as an opportunity that would be, it would be more or less another higher low right here. And we do have, other targets that are higher, obviously. So, I think right now it's very important to kind of dial in the nuanced analysis in that, Bitcoin's not fucking Uber, fucking mega bull, anything like that. It's highly unlikely to go straight from here to like 100,000 bucks, or at least in my opinion, I don't think that that's going to happen. At the same time, I don't think Bitcoin's going to be making any significantly new lows as well, or at least if that did happen, that's probably coming like later this year, like way later this year. For right now, just looking for Bitcoin to kind of oscillate between these two boundaries. We're very close to the top side of it. I can definitely understand why some people would intrinsically call this already, the next lower high, because to be fair, Bitcoin is rejecting the 200 simple on the first pass, but that is to be expected. Like I said, I expect a little bit more downside over here, but coming down to 78,000 bucks, that's your Rev and Ribbons mid-band, as well as almost where the yellow 21 EMA is on the daily time frame here as well. So, these things play hand in hand. Good place for another higher low, and for Bitcoin to try maybe one more assault to the upside before we do see this thing come back down. And again, one thing that I do feel quite not confident, but quite strongly about is that wherever this rally tops out at, whether it's already in at 83 or whether it goes to like 85, 86, 87, I do think you will get another try down somewhere around 70,000 bucks. The question is, which one happens first, obviously. So that's kind of the plays that I'm looking at. And again, for me, I will buy low 70s or upper 60s if Bitcoin does come back down around there. Until then, we can go back to the central command terminal and we can look at the short and long liquidation levels. And the long liquidation levels, I think, are a little bit more relevant right now. It's at 79,000 bucks for the 30-day, the 3-day, the 7-day, and the 24-hour, all stacked in right around this territory right here. So if you do see Bitcoin creep down below about 79,000 bucks, yeah, you do have some rocket fuel for lower. I think that that's going to be good enough to get you to about 78,000 bucks at least. I expect a bounce there. The question is, does that bounce put in a higher low, reverse, pop back up, make new highs towards 85, 86, 87? That's the real question. I'm kind of biased towards that happening right now just because the daily trend is to the upside. But that also just gives a really clean and obvious inflection and invalidation point, meaning that if Bitcoin goes below 78,000 bucks on a daily close basis, okay, get ready for a real downside move. We're talking about 10%, like I said. Until then, ball is still in the Bulaw's court, and yeah, something like that. To the upside, it looks like most of the short liquidation levels for the 30, the 7-day, and the 3-day are coming in around about 81, almost 82,000 bucks. Similar to yesterday, I believe all of those numbers were around the same area. We obviously did not see Bitcoin get into that region. Thus, you did not see the sort of nice little rocket fuel for propelling Bitcoin a little bit higher. Ultimately, I think we're going to be waiting a little bit here. Don't think we're going to see anything super significant until we get to next week. We've already had kind of the fun for this week, in my opinion. And really, it's probably best time to be looking at traditional markets, like I did say. SPY futures, obviously new all-time highs. NASDAQ futures, new all-time highs. Now it's just like 30,000 bucks. Why not? Just fucking send it there. Who gives a shit? Just punt it up, man. Just punt it up. Technically, we do have an implied target somewhere around about 29,700. So I would be a little bit cognizant that you're probably going to get a bit of a pullback there on NASDAQ futures. Do I think that that's going to be the ultimate top for this rally? No, I do not think so. I think that you come back down, you put in a higher low, and this thing almost look, I don't want to say almost undoubtedly, but very, 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 very likely we'll see well above 30,000 bucks. I'm looking at, 31 to 31.5 region for this rally. And again, in terms of timing, I'm just not looking for highs on this market until we get to Q4 of this year. So that naturally does imply that, pullbacks are likely going to be higher lows. And, between now and mid or end of summer, I generally just expect this thing to kind of float up to new highs. We're getting into the crazy times on this rally, obviously, but some of the craziest gains, some of the most impressive gains obviously happen during the end of these parabolic blow-off tops, of which we've seen many of these things, in previous requests throughout the past couple of weeks. And again, I think a lot of them actually have more to go. But for right now, does make the game, I just feel like we need to mentally prepare for this, right? Because when things do turn around, I really, 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 really want to remind myself and hopefully other people out there as well, because I just find this incredibly valuable and important to focus on, is that when things do turn around, don't fall into the trap that many people do, in which they look at their all-time high account value and kind of like associate their identity with that, and they just will not let go of things unless if they see that value again. And even then, if they did see it again, relatively quickly, they'd probably not sell anyways. At the end of the day, when things do reverse for our SPYs, for our NASDAQ, it's probably going to be down, 10, maybe even 15% from the highs before it's really obviously a major macro reversal. That's just the nature with macro moves here. So, I would say one thing that at least I want to prepare for is, whatever my account value high is, it's probably going to be, 10 to 20% lower than that in what I actually realize. So, and of course, a lot of it I will just be holding anyways, because they are intended to be very, very long-term holds. Anyways, I'm getting way off into the weeds right here. Fucking Humor Bagel Squad Juice knows, man. He's so good. Dude, he, I just need to show you these videos, man. I just need to show you this video. God. There was one, such a good one, such a fucking good one. And then we'll get into the super chats in just a moment. I was watching this with my dog. It was so good. So fucking good. Hold on. I will
Is
bring
that
some
what
of you.
type of
Hopefully I
dog?
don't get banned for this, for like showing someone else's content, but here you go. Enjoy. In fucking joy.
It's a, yeah, it's a.
Touchdown.
Hi, doggy.
Yeah,
Hi.
careful,
Hi.
he gets snotty.
Okay. Take that. Hi, doggy. Hi, doggy. Sorry, guys. Hey, doggy. Hi. Hey, doggy. Hey. Sometimes they like that.
Oh god, it's so good. It's so good. All right, let's find some of these damn
Hey,
super
doggy.
chats.
What type of dog is that? It's like a mix of sorts. Hi. Hi. All the doggies. Hey, doggy.
Oh god. Oh yeah, the fake argument on the phone. Yeah. I'm tired of your sass. All right, cool. We got Lutfi Miss Rodova first. She is looking at symbol XAG silver. Let's go check it out. Yeah, back around 80 and a quarter. And you say you are short from 78.63. Do you think it rejects from here and moves lower? So okay. My personal opinion is I actually like your position. I like your position because it's a very easy trade to manage, a very easy trade to set up, and you could quite literally just have a stop loss at the April high. The April high is about $83, so you don't have to risk that much money, or in terms of price action, you don't have to risk that much in order to figure out if this one's going to work or not. I like the overall positioning. This is still a lower high as it stands. You could probably even use yesterday's high as a risk management point as well. I think both are valid, but if you want to go by the book, it'd be this high right here from April. And overall, do I think it's going to come back down? Look, I'm always going to bet on the downtrend continuing until proven otherwise. Do you have a higher low in here? Yeah, you actually do have a higher low in here. Do you have a higher high? No, you do not. So the previous trend does still remain dominant. Thus, I have to be looking at this first and foremost as likely to put in a lower high. At some point that will at some point that logic will fail. But I love these trade setups because one, you have very easy and cleared and defined risk. Two, you're on the same side of the trend. And three, like you're quite close to what that inflection point would be. So For me, I actually kind of like that. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to work out, but do I think it's going to reject here and move lower? I think gold's honestly a little bit easier to look at right now, and I think gold does show a little bit more obvious downside. You know, it's putting in what seems to be the next lower high right around that green 55 EMA, and this one obviously is already in a downtrend. And I mean, this thing, you know, just seems a little more obviously likely to go down to me. And if this one goes down, do I expect silver to go down? Most likely, yes. Let's see how the weekly is kind of shaping up. Yeah, not bad on the weekly, to be fair. So if I'm wrong on this, you know, you gotta close those losses real fucking fast, because it will probably have a nice big rally. Actually, at that point, I really need to rethink my overall stance on the metals now. That they are indeed bearish if that does happen. But again, that inflection point very, very close by, and any sort of a closure above that April high, you know, this thing, especially silver, is probably going to rocket up another like 10-ish%, maybe more. Yeah, sorry, more actually, like 10 to 15% to this previous high right here. And at that point, it is quite literally bullish. You know, I have no reason to be bearish on it if that were to happen. But until then, trend is your friend, and I'm always going to bet on the same side as that. Whether I'm right or wrong, over a long period of time, that will be the right thing to do, though. Anyways, do it wit 14 says, do you think we see 85 to 87,000 area could be a short? Do you think? Oh, do I think the $85,000 to $87,000 area for Bitcoin is a good spot to short Bitcoin? So hypothetical here, if Bitcoin gets up to 85 to 87, do I think it's a good area to short? I mean, look, I think my view is probably pretty obvious, given, you know, the initial analysis and you know, in this previous week. I do think that's going to be a range high for Bitcoin. I do think you're going to back off there for Bitcoin. So, you know, do I think it's shortable? Yes. Where would you manage risk on that is the real question. And I suppose at that point, you know, if you want to go buy the book, it'd be about $90,000. I don't think you'd have to really wait for that, though. I think anywhere above like 87.5 would be good enough for me if, you know, if we start to see dailies close above there. But yeah, you know, I look at that as top side of the range. It's also, you know, a lot of major moving averages, especially the daily 377 EMA, and very many of the higher term time frame EMAs coming in around that region too. You know, is that a good place for lower high and a pullback? Yeah. Would I short it to zero? No. Again, I don't think Bitcoin is as bearish as the fucking super ultra mega bears who are calling for new lows. And I don't think Bitcoin's as bullish, if there even are any bulls around right now, as people calling for $100,000 plus. I think this is a range bound market. And I think both sides are going to be, you know, fooled when you see, when you see this thing inch up to one of those boundaries. And that's just the nature of it. But like I said, long term, the longer that Bitcoin stays within this 85 to 65 territory, you know, if Bitcoin's still doing this into summer, I look at that as actually very bullish, and this is very likely to be the next macro high or low. But obviously that's going to take a lot of time. Right now, it's a possibility, and you know, if I'm giving my personal opinion on it, I think it's a higher probability than not. But you know, only time will tell on this one. Anyways, but yeah, to answer your question, yes, I would understand the validity of that position. I would get it, and I would support you in that. I think it's a decent setup. Straight Path says, GM Krown, is iron going to $100? I don't know. Is it going to $100 right now today in this exact second? Well, that's a lot easier to answer, which is no. But is it going to go to $100 from exactly here? I mean, there's going to be a lot of twists and turns along the way. We did get that move up to $63, $64, and we did get the pullback that you know is very natural to happen from that. This pullback is an opportunity, in my opinion. You know, this thing is absolutely bullish as long as you're above this week's low. We identified this one as actually reversing and ready to trade to the upside towards this previous high early this week, and I don't really have anything new to add on to that. How far can this pullback come down to? I mean, could theoretically come back down to like $50 to $51, but as long as you're above 50 or just basically this week's low, which is 46 actually, I'd be bullish on it. I look at this as a falling pizza being resolved to the upside. And, you know, at some point you're going to retest that previous all-time high at $77, $78. Do I think it goes to $100 from there? Why not? I mean, let's see. What do our Fibonacci extensions say? Yeah, probably. Next major area of interest would be like 97 and a quarter. And then above there, it's like 110, 115. So yeah, definitely possible. Again, right now, the market conditions are conducive to a lot of things like this, having some nice continuation rallies. So I say don't fight it, man. Don't fucking fight the momentum. SSS today says, Palantir, daily, weekly. Apologies, just coughing up some caffeine. Palantir, got it on my list right here. And yeah, I don't like what it's doing here. My LARP lines might be a little bit too optimistic. I really don't like the last like month and a half, or sorry, this is now 2 months. Oh shit, holy shit, it's 2 months now of these lower highs coming in this tight range. It just gives the bias on a downside break rather than an upside break in the short term here. Now, of course, I can't really call a downside break until it's, you know, closing weeklies below 127. But if it does that, you know, I'm going to be looking for $90 to $100. At that point, I actually personally would like to buy more of Palantir if and when that does happen. But until then, you know, got to let the trend be your friend. And I do think it's more likely to resolve downside here. Only way I flip around to being bullish on this one in the short term is if you can reclaim the range high, which is 161.5. So, you know, it's got, or 162 spot 40 cents on the price action pivot. So until that happens, I mean, I'd be betting on downside. Long term, I mean, you know, I think it's going to be bullish, but, you know, let's put it in perspective for a moment, because back in January 2023, this thing was trading at $6 and it got up to, you know, 200 plus a couple years later. This might take a long time to resolve. Maybe get something like this. Maybe it just goes lower from here, but I do think it does at some point go lower. This thing is kind of mostly had its bull market from what I see. So if you're considering like something like this, and I'd have to say, I think it's got to be a very long-term do, Max. I don't think it's going to be like the big winner anytime soon. It already had its big winning phase. It was actually one of the leaders really for these past couple of years. Great company, great stock, great name, but yeah, I just don't think it's going to be doing all that much in the short term here. And I think any upside that you do get is probably capped for a while. But yeah, something that I'll definitely like to come back to. I don't know, in like a month or so. But for right now, yeah, it's hard to argue that this is not bearish. Lower high to lower high to lower high with same lows. I'm always going to be biased on downside from there. Let's see. Ondo Punch says CRWV, CoreWeave. Okay, got it. CoreWeave, another favorite of this channel, apparently. Daily, weekly, real trap shit. Wait, where is it? God damn it. What the fuck? Do I not have it anymore? Where is my real trap shit? Where is my real trap shit?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Fine, I'll do it. CoreWeave, similar to, kind of reminds me, what was the other one that we were just looking at? Was it Iron? Yeah, I think it was Iron. Similar to this one. Yeah, you're getting a pullback after retesting what was more or less this previous high over here, to be expected, but I would not be necessarily bearish on it. I do think you have a little bit of downside back down to maybe $100 or so. That's what I'd be looking for on a higher low. And then, you know, LARP line, something like this, I guess. Bullish as long as you're above, especially, what is it going to be, like 95? But yeah, I do think you have a little bit of downside here in the short term. So low 100s, that's what I'd be looking for on a higher low. Below, it doesn't even need to be necessarily like 95. You could probably manage things at like 97 or so. But below there, I'd start to say, oh, no, this is going the other way. This is not good. But for right now, I would give it the benefit of the doubt. Again, just granted what everything else is doing. Anyways, Freddie M says, Black Sky, crazy couple days, still upside bias 55. I don't know if you're referencing someone else, but my upside target for Black Sky was $41 or $42. I haven't checked on it in recent times, so let's see what it's doing now. Oh, it hit 42.70, perfect. So do I think it can go more up from here? It's acting really well. I mean, this pullback was eaten up nearly instantaneously, and it still even puts in higher lows on a closing basis. So that is a good sign, absolutely. And you do have hidden bullish evidence on Takara Ticker's RSI right here. It's a phantom drive, and it's still pending today's closure. If it closed above 37.05, yesterday's high, it will confirm. You know, at that point, like, yeah, 50. What would be the next real area of interest is going to be $46, but do I think that you ultimately top there? Probably not. Do I think you get up to 53, 54 and a half? Probably yes. Yeah, I think generally you can just be bullish in this thing as long as you're above $30. Below $30, okay, reconsider. But until then, let it float up. We've already hit one of our major targets for this thing. I wouldn't get too greedy here. Look, if I was in this position, which there was a point in time where I very well may have pulled the trigger on that. Unfortunately, I did not. But $42 would have been my first major take profit. I would have taken, probably 60% off at that area. Can it go higher? Perhaps yes. I mean, in this case, it still is an upside bias here. But that's already pretty an epic move, man. I mean, we were looking at this thing when it was trading, 11, 12 bucks. Yeah. I mean, you just can't hate like a fucking 3 or 4x, right? This is stocks after all. Anyways, Freddie M's back. He's asked about Lunar. He says, when $42, if you had to give your best guess. I mean, I don't really have contrary to, I do not have a crystal ball here, but where's my Lunar? Where's my Lunar derp? There it is, $28. Look, all I can say is, do I think it's going to get to 42? Yes, I do. My $42 target is still very much valid, still very much there, and it is. I don't really have a reason to invalidate that until you're below about $23 on a daily closing basis. Until then, it's bullish. Do I think you get up to 42? Yes. What sort of time frame for that? Maybe this month or next. I think it's, I think that this thing is very like ripe right now to have the next sort of explosive move. Like we just see so many of that, so much of that going on across the markets right now, that this is just the time that something like that can happen. But yeah, $42 still a big target for me. Doesn't necessarily mean that it has to stop there for forever, but it should be a good stopping point, as well as 35.5. But other than that, man, if I had to guess this month or next month, I have no fucking clue. I'm generally looking towards those areas until you do violate that $23 invalidation level. Until then, I'm just looking up. If I had to guess this month or next, I wouldn't put too much weight into that though, man. Again, just got to shoot you straight. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know the timing of these things. Getting timing is very, very difficult, but right now it is bullish and it does look like it's ready to take another leg up. You got another drive of hidden bullish evidence here on Kerrigan's RSI. In fact, it is the third drive on this current consolidation. This thing is ready right now, man. If not now, then when? And that's really all that I got to say. All that I got to say about that, man. Great White Hype is looking at Tesla breaking out above 409. Yes, we've been bullish on Tesla for the last couple of weeks now, and this is follow through. This is confirmation of that next major and macro higher low being put in. I'm looking for this thing to work its way back up towards these previous highs. There's going to be stops along the way naturally, but the weekly RSI is the tell right here. You clearly rejected the bearish control zone, and more importantly, as of recent on that higher low, just bounced off of what is the neutral zone and the exponential moving average on the weekly RSI. This thing very likely has this next major, maybe even macro low in. And I'd be looking for it to trade back up towards 460, between 460 and 500. And look, like, if we fast forward another 3 to 6 months from now, is it making new all-time highs? Probably yes. Probably yes. This is good. This is what we were looking for. It's what we were defensive against, and it is now pulling through. And pending, a catastrophic closure today, look, if today closed below 410, it's got 3 hours to do it basically. But if it did do that, okay, I would invalidate these statements and I would reconsider bullishness. But until then, man, just let the trend be your friend. This is good. This is fine. Again, market conditions right now, err on the side of bullishness when in doubt. And I mean, it's not really a doubt here. It is a higher low, quite literally. Anyways, we got LS Juan next. He's looking at Red Cat on the weekly and monthly, bottom close. Yeah. So this is one that I own. I have traded around this position. I have sold a lot, I should add. Do I think it's getting ready to bounce soon? So I'd go to the monthly time frame, and it depends what you mean by soon. I think that this thing's going lower first, man. I think that it's going to like $8.5, $9 at least. You got 3 drives of bearish evidence on the monthly RSI, and this is a clear and obvious reversal right here. It had its chance last month when it did not follow through. That was the tell. This thing is going to probably be good long term. Probably has a similar chart to like Black Sky long term, but in the short term, do I think the low is in? No, I don't think the low is in. I think it's coming down here like $8.5 ish. That's what I'd be looking for on an optimistic higher low for this thing to kind of V bottom out of there, hopefully. But until then, no, I would be expecting further downside. I still own a small position in it, but I've sold the overwhelming majority of it, and yeah. Yeah, not bad. I mean, look, long term, I actually do kind of like it still, but I think that you're in for a much more longer consolidation for right now. Even the quarterly hasn't reconnected with the 5 EMA just yet, and that would be like $9.5. So somewhere between 9.5 and 8.5. I'd probably be looking at the lower end of that personally, but yeah. Cool. All right, one moment while I take a sip of this water, and we will get on to John YB. GM, Krown, Elsa, and Rosie Poo. Fuck yeah, man. We love Rosie Poo. She just got a haircut recently, and she looks very not like herself. I'm not sure I like it. SoFi daily, weekly, but I love her, man. This fucking dog, man. I wasn't expecting to fall in love with this damn dog so hard. SoFi, don't like it. Just compared to most of the things we've seen today. We looked at this one. Was it last week or earlier this week? But it's another lower high. It's a downtrend. The trend is your friend. And in this case, I'd be betting on this thing coming back down to like 12.5 to $13 before you potentially have the next low in. Monthly time frame, yeah, you're resting on the green 55 EMA. I think you're going to test it again. Hopefully there is a nice big bounce Ola from there. So somewhere between like 12.5 to 14.5 is where I'd expect this thing to attempt to bounce. And then from there, I would only call this on a reversal, meaning bullish, if you do reclaim last month's high at 20, about $20. But I do think you got a little bit more downside here first. Does it come officially to the 200 simple on the weekly and make it easy for you and then bounce? Maybe. But not my favorite chart, man. I don't think it's a big winner right now. This thing probably is blowing off its top for the medium term at least, maybe even long term too. Just think that there's much better things to be, putting money to work in right now. But yeah, if you like it, fair enough. I wouldn't necessarily buy it here. I do think that it is going lower, and personally, I would not buy it. But look, if I had to, that's where I'd be looking at. Anyways, MG76067 says SOX L daily, weekly, monthly. Okay. No need to do all capitals. You don't need to yell at me, sir. It's okay. Oh, and by the way, I should let you know, because I've been announcing on the past couple videos on Wednesday and Thursday, we are sending emails back to the people who have reached out about the Krown.ai. I guess I call it like a private group, but basically it is a super, super, super small group of people. We're talking 12 people at most. We've already got like 10 to 12, maybe even more now. I've been checked in with Elsa, but yes, as of yesterday, we had 10 emails about this, where I want to have like a small group of people that I'm going to use to train the data on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with these people in almost a one-on-one sense, in which they post, kind of ticker requests in the same way that we do here. Hopefully they put in a lot more details so that I can make it a lot more specific to them. And then we will go over long-term analysis. This is only for long-term investors. At some point, we might do a short-term AI, but for right now, it's just long-term people. We are pricing this at what I think is an offensive price. For some people, it seems to not be offensive at all, which, I mean, hey, more power to you, I guess. But yeah, we just want a few people. I don't know. It might even be that I just end up taking only a couple people and go from there. But I just need more training data. If you're interested, we'll probably continue to talk about it for like the next week. But once we fill up those 12 slots, I will cut it off. But yeah, if you did email over the past couple of days about it, you'll be getting a response if you haven't already before end of day. We'll just explain the process a little bit more so you can get an idea. We want to make sure it's a good fit, obviously. And like I said, for me, it's all about getting more and more data to train on. Because right now I've trained this AI like pretty well over the past few months. I've been working with it every day, giving it charts, telling it what I would say, this and that. But at the same time, that's all limited by my own frame of reference and my own preferences. And I understand that, if we do decide to go public with this, releasing it to like the masses, we got to make it more relevant to other people. So that's kind of the purpose of the group, is to get, more diverse sort of prompts and whatnot that I can train it on. Anyways, SOX L right here, obviously bullish, duh, but you already knew that. Do I think that this one has more to go? I mean, it is a pretty impressive rally. Probably yes. I don't think that the top is going to be this quarter. It's probably not going to be summer as well. In other words, I think you got new highs going into summer. This would have been a lot easier of a call, similar to just general semiconductors, about a month ago to actually like trade on this. But right now, like I would say, if you're not already in this thing, look, it very likely is going to go higher. But you're playing with fire at these prices. When it reverses, it's going to be fucking super brutal. Do I think you get up to close to $200 first? Probably yes, but keep in mind, this thing is starting to put in some pretty major divergences on the daily, not necessarily there on the weekly, but you are literally the highest RSI read perhaps ever. Yes, indeed, ever on this thing. On the weekly and probably even the monthly too. No, yes, you are very close to the highest read. So it's like you're going to probably get a pretty nasty pullback relatively soon. Does it get up to like 190 or 200 first? Possible, yes, but I'd be on defense right now, man. I'd be on the defense right now. This has been an absolutely vertical rally. Let's see if we have any sort of major fibs. Oh, we already have this up right here. Let's see, 186, next area of interest, and then you got 212. I'd be taking profit within that zone right there, man. You don't need to take the whole thing off. You know, I don't think it's going to be bearish. I don't think you're going to get a sizable pullback. You know, maybe it might be like 145. Maybe it might be 110 on a pullback, but you probably do get a pretty sizable pullback after one of those critical numbers gets hit. I'd come back to it after that, though. But for right now, I assume you're already holding this thing. I'd be on the trigger finger for taking profits, at least some. I mean, honestly, I'd be doing some right here, but yeah, it probably does go a little bit higher at least over these next couple months. Anyways, we got MG back in. He's still yelling at me with all capitals, and he's saying MU daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, all right. Micron technology. Similar chart right here, just fucking vertical. I mean, it's part of the semiconductors, right? Or at least I believe so. You're at the 2618 extension right here because we charted this one out before, probably for you. I don't know, probably does get a little bit of a short-term pullback around a major Fibonacci extension like that. Is it necessarily bearish? No, I don't think it's putting a top here. I do think that it will get up to 800 or a little bit above 800 to be fair. But similar to the last chart, look, if I'm already riding this thing, got to be taking some profits here. It's not bearish or anything like this. It's just a right decision to do, or sorry, to make as a long-term investor. You got to take profits when you see moves like this. You got to take some, you don't have to take all. You can take like 20% if you want. But yeah, to put it bluntly, I do think it is going higher. I do think you will see 800 plus, but you're deep into this rally right now, like very deep. If I'm going to talk about the macro here, I do think this has at least one more quarter of probably new highs. But after that, late summer, early Q4, I'd be very defensive here. But yeah, for now, I mean, this is still bullish, and shit like this after that next pullback, somewhere around 800 bucks, I mean, it really could go to 1,000 or 1,000 plus, but goddamn, man, really powerful. Anyways, you're back in, still yelling at me. Very rude. It's all good, man. Iron daily, weekly, monthly. Like, you don't need to use all capitals, man. Like, I can see the text. All right, un momento. Let's see. Elsa just sent me a bunch of messages over here. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, sweet. Yeah, oh, wow. There is a lot of people have emailed about the secret private group. God damn, man. Okay, we have responded, I think, to everyone now, says Elsa, but yeah, okay. I think we have maybe too many people at this point. Well, shit. Have to make some cuts, I guess. Anyways, Lander Bayer says, Lord Crown, Lord Lander, thank you so much for shaking the uncertainty out of me last week on Goog. Big move since, and we are going to white knuckle this bitch to the moon. Seems like it's just a comment, but we'll look at Goog, I think, if that's what you want. Yeah, I'll still be bullish on this, man. Yeah, this is still good. I think that you're going to see 400 plus, man, or you're at 394. Like, it's not saying anything. 420 to 430-ish region, I think you will at least get to. I probably do expect a pullback there on like a daily, maybe even a weekly. Longer term, if we're talking into the summer, 475 to 500 is probably where this rally does top. But yeah, similar to SPY and NASDAQ futures, like when I look at the quarterly, don't think you're going to see the highs this quarter. Maybe the highs Q3, but like end of Q3. And I'd be very concerned around Q4. But, in the meantime, does it go higher? Yeah, I do think it goes higher. You're going to get some pullbacks, some nasty pullbacks along the way. But nothing really bearish about this thing as long as you're above, especially like 350. Well above it right now, man. Cool. Warcraft 0071 says UEC, general thoughts. All right. I'm just going to go over high-term timeframes. That's the question. Not bad here. Not bad at all. Is it ready to move to the upside in like a big fashion right now? That's the real question. Overall, I would be bullish on it. Overall, I don't really have any major issues with it, but I do think I would probably err on the side of this thing being range bound for the moment, meaning that your range high is about 1684, your range low is about $12 or just below 12 bucks. As long as you oscillate within that region, it is bullish. It is implied to be a bullish resolution. If you do crack below 12 bucks on a weekly closing basis, then I would revise that and invalidate that statement and be, I guess, bearish on it, down to like $8-ish, $8.5. Until then, a lot more likely to be bullish, a lot more likely to resolve to the upside. If you do resolve to the upside, you'll know because you'll start to see weekly closures above 1684, 1685 region. If you start to see that, this thing's going to be poised for new all-time highs. But yeah, just let the trend be your friend. You got high, you got low, higher low, so on and so forth. I don't have a reason I don't have a reason to be bearish on it until it's below about $12 on a weekly closing basis. In fact, even on the bi-weekly time frame, you do have hidden bullish evidence right here. So if you're ready to bust out, above that range high right now, possible, yeah. I guess, we do see some signals that would suggest such, but I'd really want to see price close above that on a weekly basis. And then, yeah, you probably got a nice rally. Back up to the previous highs and perhaps even beyond. Anyways, cool. Alan Calderon says 76.85, UAMY, daily, weekly, monthly, you and me. Spelling difficult today. Still bullish on this thing, man. It's tried its breakout early this week, it looks like. Doesn't want to do it today. Doesn't want to do this week. Probably sets up for next week, something like that, man. I'd still be bullish on it overall. I don't have any major issues with this thing as of this current moment. I just think, this thing wants to come back down maybe to like 990 first, or perhaps as low as $9.5, but somewhere in that pocket there, still a higher low. Even on the weekly, I mean, this is not problematic. Overall, this thing is still more likely to resolve. I mean, I am bullish on this. I think it's going higher. I'm just not bearish on it as long as you're above $8. Kind of a big spread there, but yeah. Is it ready at this exact moment? Maybe not. Daily suggests a little bit more on this pullback, maybe slightly below $10. But like I said, anything above $8 bullish. And coming down to $9 is not an issue in my opinion. And if I had to guess, short term, probably a little more downside. Long term, this thing's still set up. I'm just bullish as long as you're above $8. Losing $8, okay, big fucking problems. Until then, yeah, just let it do its thing. Just looks like a nice healthy consolidation with a few higher lows. So I'd be bullish on that, man. Crypto Shart says TON versus ZEC for another leg short term. Can we just look at these versus each other? I don't want to look at two separate shitcoins. That's boring and annoying. I would be bullish on TON versus ZEC here. ZEC looks like it put in a lower high versus TON. Let's look at the actual charts. So which one's the better call? Symbol TON. But this is, look, I think this one's going higher, man. We looked at this one a couple weeks ago and we said probably up to like 500 to 550. It's already there. Happened a lot faster than what I would have expected. And I really don't have a reason to believe that this thing's not going to retest that previous all-time high. So there is that. Yeah, man. Anyways, let's actually just quick. I guess I will look at this shitcoin too. Yeah, when I look at this one, man, it's like, why the fuck would I be bullish on this? This is garbage. This is terrible. It is just god awful, man. This thing should be put in a lower high right here, almost. Or yeah, it probably does put in a lower high right there. Yeah, maybe when I did the pairing against each other, maybe it was pulling like a different symbol TON. But if I'm looking at their individual charts, ZEC is absolutely a better pick than this thing. This thing probably is just putting a top right there. Alan Calderon is back. He's looking at Poet, looking for a pullback to play options. Okay. So I'm guessing this is a real stock, not some random shitcoin, and it is. And this is some volatile price action right there. Closed 2 weeks ago at $15.5. Opened the next week at $10, down like what, 30% instantly, then trades down all the way to 6.5. I mean, Jesus Christ, man, you gotta have balls of steel to want to play something like this, man. Looks like a random shitcoin chart, honestly. Looking for a pullback to play options. So I'm not sure what you try. Are you just going to blindly buy calls? I think that's a very dumb idea here, to be honest, man. I'm not calling you dumb or nothing like that. But look, if you haven't already, check out the, what is this doing here? Check out the what's it called? The options 101 playlist. Never buy options. Okay, I shouldn't say never, but look, you're shooting yourself in the fucking foot when you're buying options when volatility is this high. You are playing a game that is significantly against you. You don't have to do it like that. You don't have to do it like that. Do I think it's going to go up from here? It's not the most, I mean, look, it is an uptrend. It's just not the most obvious to me. I don't like the long term of this. Not that it's necessarily bad. It's just, it's not as obviously good as many other things. Look, if I had to call it, it is bullish, and it very likely does trade back up towards, $17 to $20 in the coming, 2 to 4 months, let's say. But would I be buying calls naked here? Fuck no, man. That's the worst way to do this one. If you're bullish on this thing, just buy the underline. You have a very natural invalidation below basically last week's low at $6.50. Fucking tremendously nasty move, but yeah, that's the problem when you play shit like this. I mean, if you want to buy a pullback, I think you probably do, maybe one more try, like $8.50 or something like that. But long term, like I said, if you fast forward like 2 to 4, maybe 5 months, I think that this thing's trading back up towards $18, let's say. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I just think it's kind of sloppy. So I personally don't like charts like this, but not terrible. Anyways, Chris Fellows next. He's looking at KVYO. Okay, this is a new one. All right, Clavio. Okay, don't like it. Chris Fellows is the master at finding terrible charts. Hopefully he's shorting them. Bearish as fuck. Another lower high right here. All major moving averages bearish. Trend since inception is bearish. Been around for one bull market, never did shit. Bearish, bad, new all-time lows already, while everything else rallies to the moon and beyond. If there wasn't a more obvious sign that this thing is just total fucking garbage, I don't know what else to tell you, man. The quarterly is so ugly. I want to close my eyes because it's going to give me some sort of STD, AIDS shit. This is terrible, man. Not you as a person, but this is a chart. Very bad. Like that to make new lows. Literally just put in a lower high this week. The next swing is to new lows. I mean, it's already made new lows, to be fair. Does your mom puff the green too? No, she does not. She has never done any, she's probably never done any drugs outside of alcohol. Let's see. Hal 9000 is next. He is looking at AUR, short-term to medium-term pullback targets. Okay. AUR. All right, Aurora Innovations. Cool. All right. Not my favorite chart, but it's definitely not bad here. What short-term to medium-term pullback targets? I do think you're on the right side of this thing. I do think you will pull back from here. Does it come back down to like $6, something like that? Anywhere around 6 to 6.25, I think is fair game. If you get a deeper pullback, maybe 5.5, but I'd be looking 6.25 region. It's probably okay long term, but it's hard to tell on this thing. I would treat it as bullish, especially as long as you hold the 200 simple on the weekly, but that's a long base there, and you might be oscillating within this range for many months. I don't think it's going to bust out from here. If it does, that'd be a little bit surprising to me in the short term. I think you're on the right side of that, looking for a pullback, but that might take another week or two, somewhere down like low 6s, let's say. That's what we'd be looking at. A lot easier to play position there too, because you could use $5.50 or $5.40 as an invalidation point. A lot easier to kind of set up there. Mr. D says, hello, sir. What's up, Mr. D? Intel blast through, no pullback, daily, weekly. Yeah, full disclosure, I do own a lot of this one. It is above my 120 target. Holy fuck. Oh my God. Look, I own a lot of this one, but this is just shocking right now. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. I'm going to be taking some profits here just because, again, have to. Do I think it goes higher? Yeah, it's probably going to go to 145, 150. Where does it end up settling at? I'll be looking at this from a time-based perspective. Again, I'm not looking for highs this quarter. I think this thing has new highs. Just generally be bullish throughout the rest of this quarter. Might get a pullback in the short term, but that's, another higher low most likely. coming into, you know, maybe end of summer, maybe that's when we see a high. And if it's around one of these big numbers like 145 or 170, you know, I'd probably start to pull triggers on that. But it's probably will just end up being a very, very, very long-term hodl for me. I will not sell a core position in this. Yeah, this is crazy. It's fucking insane, man. Yeah, this thing just blew through that 120 target. Holy shit, fuck. Still, you know, you probably do get something resembling a pullback here, but, you know, you could get a higher low at $100, for example. It's just powerful, girthy, impressive. I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, I don't know if there's really a question there, but that's my thoughts, I guess. 1236N says Oracle 12-hour daily and 3-day is 248 target. I don't know. Let's see. Is 240 a target? I don't really understand why that would be an area of interest at all. I don't think that this thing is moving up in any like amazing fashion past even like 220 anytime soon. I think you're going to probably be held by the 200 simple here on the daily if you even get there on this rally. Probably does get there on this rally. That's about 210. So I think that's kind of a good place for a bit of a pushback. Long term, I mean, look, it has put in. This likely is the next macro low here, but when you hit a range high like this, you're probably going to pull back on the first pass, try for a higher low, something like this, and then try your move. So I do think it's bullish long term. I do think it's good long term. Well, maybe I'm wrong about this. I mean, no, still, even if the hidden bullish divergence on the monthly plays out, the obvious target's going to be about 110 to 120, or sorry, 210 to 220. Look, long term, it's really good. I don't know if I don't think 240 is like relevant in any way, shape, or form. If you're going past about 220, I think you're gonna blow past fucking 240 and head up to, you know, what is more or less your previous all-time highs, 300 plus. Yeah, I mean, that would appear to me to be the next higher low on the macro scale. I mean, that's what the LARP lines were saying over here, and something like that, man. I do think you got a little more upside in the short term, but I don't think it's going to be a runaway rally just yet. I think that comes a little bit later. But either which way you cut it, you know, it is bullish. It's like it's 240 a target. It's like doesn't really mean anything to me. It's probably going to go much higher than that. And again, you know, bullish as long as you hold the 200 simple on the weekly. Just make it simple right there. Anyways, let me scroll back up here. Lots of requests today. Wow. Cool. Corked 87 says GM Krown, TDG. Transdigum. Okay, interesting name. Seems like a good spot to get a position for a long term. So long term to me would mean look at the monthly. If you're gonna do it, look. Okay, personally, I don't like this chart. I think that this thing might come down like a decent amount more, closer to $1,000. But look, if I'm wrong, okay, let me just apply your preferences here, because it's not about my opinion, it's about your preferences. Basically, what you're betting on is last month's low as being the low, and this thing reverses from here. Fair play, valid setup. I get it. I'm a little bit less enthusiastic about it playing out exactly like that, even though long term it's probably okay. Like long term. You got a couple of things here. A couple of ways that I'd play this if I was bullish from here. Well, one, you could take a long right here and use last month's low as an invalidation point. Okay, that one's obvious. The next one, and something that I think would actually be better, is actually, and this rarely happens, that I'd say this, but if you actually reclaim last month's high at 1303, that would be a lot more of an easy position to take, in my opinion, because at that point you do have this confirmed as a local low. You probably do see this thing rally back up to 1450, 1470, and at that point, you know, it's going to take on a bullish bias. But before that, I mean, you know, to be fair, you got high, low, lower high, lower low. And as long as you're below that previous sort of structural boundary at 1230, which you are right now, should be treating that as a downside asset. You know, with 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence on the quarterly time frame, it's like I'm more biased towards this thing coming back down to the 21 EMA on the quarterly than I would be with it bottoming here. But that's, again, my personal opinion. I think that you could set up a valid trade here. Would I take it myself? I probably wouldn't take it here. I'd actually take it. I'd be more interested in taking it if you did take out last month's high. So yeah, Hopefully that was helpful. I think that's kind of what you were looking. Yeah, I think that's what you're kind of looking for. Mr. D says, lows are in for UNH now. Good to add. Okay, sir. It's like he's like putting acronyms for good instead of spelling GOOD. It's just GD. and new is NW instead of NEW. Man, we are getting fucking lazy. All good though, man. I'm lazy too in some cases. Do I think that this is the macro low? Yeah, we've been looking at this as a macro low for a long time. Unfortunately, I did not take my own fucking advice and buy this thing. Got a little bit too greedy wanting an official test on the 200 simple here, but hey, that's just the game sometimes. Anyways, to answer your question more appropriately, I think your question is are the lows in? Yeah, I do think that the lows are in here. You're going to see some ebbs and flows, but, I do think that this thing does pop back up 400 plus and, over a long enough period of time, it's probably going to pop back up to former glories, the 500 plus. You got hidden bullish evidence building on the quarterly time frame right here. Obviously, you still got a long time to wait for that to really validate. But if this quarter does finish above 357 on end of June's next month, then this is macro low, and I'd be expecting kind of up from there in summer, back up to 500 plus or so. Would I hold till the top of SPX? I think it's good kind of just general gauge to watch. Your major indices like SPY, like NASDAQ, even though technically UNH is, it's not going to be related to NASDAQ particularly, but these things all kind of trade with each other anyways. When it starts to hit some of those major targets, I'd probably lighten up on something like this. But as far as this one goes, do I think the macro low is in? Yeah, I do think so. We've been saying that I remember when this one dumped last year in April of last year. I remember because I was trying to buy it just like $10 lower than what it got. Silly, man. Very bad. Very, very bad. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. Anyways, Tommy Dixon says PENG stonk. Okay. Penguin Solution. Is this are they like a publishing house? Really good here, actually. Really good. Quarterly time frame, hidden bullish evidence, 1, 2, 3 drives. Big breakout. This thing's probably going to run for the next, 2 to 5 months. If it does pull back, $38 is where I'd be looking towards. It's just bullish as long as you're above mid 30s. Let's call it 35. I'm not looking for highs anytime soon, but you will get short-term highs along the way. Obviously, daily time frame right here naturally is probably going to top out, I don't know, sometime next week and play at a pullback, but it's not necessarily bearish, just, higher low and send it higher over time, man. All higher term time frames are very bullish here, like really fucking good. Man, don't need to overthink something like this, man. Just let it float up and to the right. And if you get a pullback to like upper 30s, I think that would be a nice gift from the trading gods. Cool. Yeah, that's what you get. Oh God. Andrew Plus says, can we check out on ENTG? Yeah, ENTG. This one's popped up a lot on these streams in recent times. I actually still really like it here. We've liked it for the past, I think it's like a couple of weeks since we started. Someone brought it up, man, and this is one of the reasons why I love these streams. Like, learn about the best tickers when people bring them up, just shit that I'm not really looking at myself. It did reject on Wednesday, so I was wrong about this thing continuing from Wednesday. Obviously wrong about that, but that's okay. In this case, I'm just gonna be bullish on it as long as you're above 134.5 on a daily closing basis. Is it ready to break out from here? Does it pull back a little bit first and then try for the breakout? I don't know, but when I go to the higher term time frames, this thing's still bullish, it still wants to go higher, it's still overall good. Quarterly time frame is a tell right here. This thing is resolving a 5-year long consolidation. I don't think you want to, or at least I don't want to complicate things other than that. I don't really know what time frames are going off of because you just said check in on it. So I'm going to assume probably higher term time frames. And in this case, look, I think if we fast forward 3 months from now, this thing's going to be trading, closer to $200, if not over $200. Again, just don't want to complicate this thing. It's good. No issues at all as long as it's above like 135 even in the short term. Long term, I'd reconsider my overall bullishness if it did lose 107, but it's still kind of far away right now. David Murphy says BLBD, short to medium term. Okay, BLBD. Boom. Bluebird. No, Bluebird. Kind of looks. I can understand why someone would look at this and be like, oh shit, the monthly is playing out a shooting star and this thing's going to go down. I don't think that that's the right call there. This thing is bullish and it very likely goes higher in the coming months. If you're just looking at the short term and the medium term, however, short term probably pops back down a little bit closer to fill this gap, maybe like $68, but I'll be looking for bounces and higher lows anywhere between 66 and 69, let's call it. Great number as well. Where would I flip around my perception on this one and be bearish on it and invalidate any sort of, long-term bullishness? That would be below $52. Until then, yeah, probably a little bit more on this pullback, but I'm looking for a higher low on this pullback, man. I'm not looking for this thing to fall apart here. All higher term time frame oscillators are looking like they want more, man. I don't think this thing's topped out yet. So I'd just be looking for higher lows in this pullback, probably a little bit lower than where it's currently at right now. So yeah, that'll be my take on that, man. Cool. All right, what else we got, man? SD8 Trading says, good place to be an option seller on Bitcoin. Shame volatility implied volatility is low as fuck. Implied volatility might be low, but I'm curious to see what daily volatility is kind of lower as well. Weekly volatility getting up there. I mean, I think you can play spreads around here. I even have my own spread still on as well. Yeah, you're just not going to be selling expensive options. That's kind of the problem with this. But one of the counterpoints to that is that when you are selling options and trying to, capture a range and volatility is kind of already low, volatility can stay a lot lower for longer than it can ever stay high. So it's not so much that you never want to sell when volatility is low. That can still work. It's when volatility is high, you just really want to avoid the buy button in general. Again, there are going to be instances where that does not hold up, obviously, but we're talking about, 80 to probably more like 90% of the time, that's going to be the right thing to do. So cool. Enzo Patricio says, Krown, what is the ETA of your new command center? Like I said, I'm going to be setting up after this stream. So by Monday of next week, we should have a completely new scene that you're looking at. Probably take me some time to dial it in. And even from there, we actually just kind of have like an interim solution. And then we're going to, while I'm in that new area, we're going to build out like the fucking balls to the walls, like no holding back recording studio, full on battle station. I'm going to love it, man. I'm really excited. Arms Private says, do you think it's more likely the higher low? Wait, do you think it is more likely the higher low or we test the median first? I'm guessing you mean on Bitcoin. I really don't know. I really don't know. If I had to guess, there's some things tell me right here, some things tell me not right here. If I had to guess, I would personally like to see it go to 78 or so. Just make a lot more sense to me, make my job a lot easier. But yeah, hard for me to say. I don't know. If I had to call it, it would be yes, it goes to the median first before trying to get into the upside. But these are not very strong calls right now. It's more so like when you see something like this, it's telling you that you have an edge here, not necessarily that price is going to go exactly to there. For that, we can reference other things, of which, there were some divergent signals over here, but those have already played on the 4-hour, 12-hour time frame. Same thing, yeah. I don't have a big bias on that. My bias is on if you start to violate the mid-band on a daily closing basis, then we have something new going on. Especially if it starts to come down below like 76.5. That's where really I think any sort of short-term bullishness or even medium-term bullishness gets fucking nuked. So yeah. All right, one moment. Going to take another sip of this. Plain Sailor says, have a peek at ONDO. Oh, God. All right. We'll look at some crypto shitcoin. Whoops. That's might actually be good. I mean, you never know with these things. Ondo Derpo. I think it actually does have a little more upside here, but I'd be looking for lower highs anywhere between 47 cents all the way up to about 55 cents. I think that's a really good zone to be looking for this thing to top out at and turn around. Let's see. Andreas Palm says DFTX. Okay, DFTX. Definium Therapeutics. All right, it's a new one, I think. Don't think I've ever seen this thing before. Not my favorite chart, man. Yeah, you do have a monthly higher low, and right here, you also do. You're right at the top side of the range. So this is kind of like the place of maximum risk if you're looking for this thing to break out right here, because usually on your first pass, you're going to reject. And it's better, and it's just a better long-term bet to be betting on this thing to come down at least to like a 382 Fibonacci retracement. And generally, a lot of the time, more often than not, you will see a return to the middle of the range, which is about $14. So that'd be like 1692 and 1396 respectively. Yeah, do I think it's topped out right here for this move? If I had to bet on it, that's what I'd be betting on. Just again, because the long-term, history of this thing is a failure, to be fair, thus far. But I've seen these biotechs do crazy shit before. They can really, truly act like shit coins. So look, if you start to see this thing closing, the weekly above 23 and 10, I would revisit the statement that I just made and say, okay, maybe it is breaking out, and I guess looking for a move to 30 plus. But the first test into a major area like this, I'm going to look for a pullback. That's what's going to happen more often than not. So that's what I'd be saying there, man. Arms Private says, gold, please, are topped. Can we short it? You can do whatever the fuck you want, right? Similar to silver, I like the setup right here. Not because it's guaranteed to work out. Nothing's ever guaranteed, obviously. Anyone with a fucking brain knows that. Not saying that you were saying that to begin with, but I like the setup because you are in a downtrend. So you are trading the same side of the current trend, and you have a very obvious invalidation point, which is more or less just yesterday's high. Yesterday's high on a closing basis if Bitcoin. No, if gold reclaims that, okay, I would take the loss, move on to the next one, because you're probably going to move up to the official range high somewhere around like 4870 to 4900, and might even like pull through there as well. But for right now, you have that as an edge, and I think that's okay. And I think that's it is a well-defined trade setup. And what are you effectively trading for? I mean, the obvious target would be back down to 4500 low, but do things really stop there if this can be another lower high? No, it's probably going to continue trend and get down to at least a 200 simple on the daily at 43. So I like that setup, because basically what do you have to, you're risking here less than 1%, about spot 93%, to try a trade when you're trading for, at least like 4.5 or about 4%, or about 4.5%. And if it really goes well, then, 8.5%. So to me, that's a great setup. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed to work out, but I think look, if I'm trading this, I think that's a setup worth taking, because I know if I play that out long term, that's going to work out more often than not. Yeah, let's see. We got the bi-weekly and the 3-week time frame closing today. Let's see if there's any particular signals here. It'd be a slight downside bias here, I guess, if it closes below 47.45 end of day here. So you got 3 hours, 17 minutes left to go for that. So yeah, I think it's valid. Anyways, 0x Arceus says N phase ENPH. Okay, ENPH. All right. Just one shitcoin at a time, sir. This is very bad. This is very bad. Okay, look, I'm gonna go to Circle just because this is so fucking dude. Just I don't even want to look at that chart. It's so bad. Circle is something that I actually do own now, and I like this actually, as long as you're above last week's low at $90. I'm looking at this as potentially potentially the first higher low on the weekly time frame before completing the reversal. So I love to enter in on consolidations like this. This is actually how I got Coinbase at around like 70 or $80. It was a very similar setup to this. Again, not guaranteed to work out, but as long as you're above $90, I like this. I like this as a potential reversal to the upside. Is it ready to bust out, to like 150 at this exact moment? No, but I do think that's where it's going if it does pull through on the reversal. Monthly time frame, limited history here, obviously, but for what it's worth, pretty good. As potential reversal. Same thing with the bi-weekly, which is closing later today as well. You got that higher low at about $85. It's adjusting. So do I think it's worth a punt to potentially get in on a reversal earlier than waiting for it, fully completed above about 135? That's what I did. I'm okay with that risk right now. I'm okay with that risk. Again, below $90, okay, I capitulate, fine, whatever. It's not gonna be the first time I take a loss in a trade. But for right here, I think it's worth doing. And the closer that you enter into $90, the lower and lower your risk is going to be. I like this thing. Again, I do own it. Short term, do I think it does come down more? Yeah, probably yes. Wouldn't be surprised to see this thing go back down to low 100s. Yeah. But even then, it's not a super strong opinion. The big opinion is on the range high and range low. And at this point, you could actually adjust the range high previously from 136.5 down to this week's high at 122.86. Between there and about $90 from the previous week's low, is going to be where I'd be looking at. So, yeah, overall, if you're cool with that risk, I took that trade myself, or then that investment myself, because if this thing does pan out how I hope it does, should be a big winner for long term. Oh, such good water. All right, Chris Vell is back. He's looking at Tau daily and weekly. All right, so let's see. This thing probably should have taken another leg to the upside, granted what everything else is doing in this market. Let's see. Yeah, it's back around 310. We did say that was likely earlier this week, but this is kind of the area where, look, I'm pessimistic on this chart because long-term it's just gone down. I know that some people are looking at this as like really, really good because they probably heard like the All-In podcast guys talk about it, but I don't really care about that sort of stuff. Maybe they have insider information, in which case, hey, by all means, go for it. That's not my game, obviously. In this case, I'd be looking at this as shortable around here, honestly, man. I would only invalidate that statement if you see a weekly closure above about 338, 339 region. If you see that, okay, sure, yeah, I'm going to be wrong about this, and it does pop back up, and you do have an inverted head and shoulders here, and you probably see like 500 plus from there. But at the current moment, I'm a lot more inclined to say the trend is your friend. All higher term timeframes still have a downtrend, and this would be a good, around this area, maybe slightly higher at like 325 to 330. That would traditionally be like a decent setup for a short. Until then, like I can see why people are going to like this, and I'm going to probably catch a lot of shit if I'm wrong on it too. But yeah, I mean, last month's high is probably a good management point, about 350 at that point. Yeah, this thing very likely does complete the reversal and pop back up like high 400s, low 500s, something like that. But yeah, my personal opinion is that it probably won't do that. So yeah, hopefully I'm wrong, man. Anyways, let's see. Mr. D says, hello, sir. Palantir Q1 earnings is great. Yeah, what you'll find out as a long-term investor is, or just as anyone who watches the market, is that earnings reports, whether they're good or bad, doesn't really seem to impact the stock price that much. We went over this one earlier. I don't like the chart here. I think it's a lot more likely to try some downside than it is to try upside. But you have a very easy and obvious and well-defined range between 160 to the upside or 161 to the upside versus 127 and a quarter to the downside. Could you say, hey, we're getting close to the range low and I want to play a position here because I think it's going to at least bounce? That's valid. Again, 127 and a quarter is your risk on a weekly closing basis. But I'd be remiss not to say that I have to be bearish on this because it is a weekly downtrend, and especially on the daily time frame right here, you've gotten a series of lower highs around the same lows. So that is a setup for a real breakdown. Personally, I want to see it down around about $100, in which case I will be a buyer, or like anywhere between 90 to $100. But either that, I would buy if it gets down around there, or if it pops back above about 161.5, I would also buy that breakout too. But I don't want to buy in here because I already own a core position. Yeah, I've traded around it a little bit here, but yeah, I'd either add it back above about 161 or buy lower. And if I'm giving my personal opinion, I think that it does come lower. Again, my personal opinion is wrong all the fucking time. So that's why we go for after technicals. Anyways, un momento. Hey, all good, Mr. D. All good, man. Evil Gargoyle with Swords says, Zer, TRX weekly and monthly. Yeah, for all the shit that it gets, does have one of the better crypto shitcoin charts, to be fair. Yeah, there we go. Oh, and actually really good here. And we've been bullish on this thing for a while. Again, I'm not saying that I necessarily like it or like the fundamentals of it or anything like that. But as far as charts goes, it is bullish. I think you're still going up to 36, 30, 37 cents. This previous high right here is probably just going to make new highs from there. Like this is, again, I'm not saying I like the creator of this. I'm not saying it's like a good product. But in terms of charts, this is a good chart. It's one of the better, or maybe even among the best crypto charts in recent times as well. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, it is what it is, man. Even on the monthly, I mean, we identified hidden bullish divergence. That one's already played out more or less. I think that this thing just leads to a new trendy move. No reason to be bearish on this thing, as long as you're above, especially like 31 cents at this point. Even, fuck, man, even like 32 cents at this point is probably a good inflection point. Until then, just let it try to be your friend, man. It's just going up and to the right. Don't need to complicate things further than that. Cool. Hey, what's up, Dat Polak? All good, man. All good. It's been a while. Yeah, a lot of people coming back from some slumber parties, but I understand, man. People go through the emotions and go through the rigmarole there. It is what it is, man. It's the old cycles, right? Evil Gargoyle with Swords is back. He says, Zer, if stocks top late Q4, how do you see Bitcoin performing into 2027? Obviously, the traditional answer is, you know, if traditional markets ain't doing good, Bitcoin is doing even worse. So, yeah. Left translated cycle, or are you predicting a lengthy bear market for stocks? Don't know. I don't know. I just am expecting some major top around about Q4 of this year. Maybe it ends up being like late Q3. Maybe it's early Q4. Maybe it's late Q4. I don't know. But somewhere in that time from there is kind of where I'm going to do some decent selling and raise some cash. Yeah. As far as Bitcoin doing well during that time, I can only tell you what history has told us, which is generally doesn't do well. So, yeah. Could this time be different? Always possible. I do think Bitcoin's cycle is different this time, actually, just because, well, if this is a macro low here, I mean, then obviously it is different. But yeah, time will tell, I suppose. I feel a lot more confident about traditional markets in that case. But when I call for a top on traditional markets, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be like a macro top. It's probably going to be a major top at the very least. So, you know, 15 to 20% pullback from there. As far as macro top, possible as always, but we'll see. Things change really fucking fast. Anyways, no B777 says, BBAI, please. I have a $5 call for December. Well, it doesn't really matter what strike you have. It matters what you fucking paid for it, man. Not a big fan of this chart, man. Many defense stocks we've seen have done incredibly well. This is not one of them. So it's not a good sign to me. I fear to ask, because I'm at the bottom of the chats right now, can you, if you're okay with it, I'm just curious, how much did you pay for that $5 call? The call that you bought at the $5 strike. Yeah, I think you're probably in trouble here, if anything. But look, and even on top of that, man, I fucking hate buying premium. Like, buying naked premium is just a recipe for disaster. You might be right on the direction of this. It might actually go up. Now, my opinion is, I wouldn't be as bullish on this thing, but you might be right on the direction of it going up, but you might lose money on that long call. Brazil green. I don't know what that means, but good. We like Brazilians, man. They got the best steaks, Brazilian steaks, some of the best Brazilian steakhouses, even better. Hoy's asking about the gold Bitcoin ratio. Oh, you bought it for 90 cents. Yeah, I hate that position. I hate that position, man. I watch the options 101 playlist, please, before you fucking waste money on shit like this. Even if you're right on that, you are absolutely 1,000,000% better off just buying the fucking underline than buying a goddamn $5 call strike for 90. Like, you're paying like a 20% premium, dude. Like, you need a 20% move above your strike price, basically to $6, in order for you to make even 1 cent on that fucking call. Like, oh, it's painful. It makes me so sad. It makes me so sad. If you're bullish, just buy the underline. Just buy the fucking underline. Or at the very least, if you're going to buy a stupid fucking out of the money call that is way overpriced, sell some other calls further out of the money and reduce your cost. I mean, this is lunacy in my opinion. Anyways, what else we got? Yeah, gold Bitcoin ratio. Actually, I have that right here. It's the Bitcoin gold ratio, however, so it's opposite. But I called a low on this one. This was last quarter, and I'm still sticking with that, man. I think that this thing's bottomed out. Now, when I say bottomed out, you know, that means that literally the low is the low at $11.50 or so. So in the short term, it might swing back down here in the short term, but I don't think you're going to see new lows. I'm overall bullish. I mean, overall bullish on this chart. Look, it's going to be boring as fuck chart for a while here, but this is extremely likely to be the next higher low here. So I am. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that Bitcoin, in comparison to gold, is a better hold if we were to fast forward, like I would say about 2 to 3 years from here, something like that, man. I'm still under the farting on dogs video impressions. You got a long ways to go, sir. You got a long ways to go. Actually, at the bottom of these comments as well. Have you checked out Ethereum? No, we haven't. We could go check it out really quickly at 2312. Almost kind of a weirdly similar chart to the previous one that we just looked at, but in a lot of ways, actually very, very similar. So do have to acknowledge that this thing continues to get rejected by this cross of the yellow 21 and 200 simple. It's not a good thing. Daily still has a chance because you still got these higher lows right here. But the second, like, all right, when I'm fighting the higher term timeframes, I feel it's very important to state this. The daily time frame does still have hopium for the short term. Now, long term, I think that this thing, similar to Bitcoin, probably more or less bottomed out. However, I would look for a return somewhere around these lows, like $2,000, maybe sub $2,000, if you see Ethereum trade back down below the April 28th low of 2219. If you see that and it closed the daily below there, I think you're reversing from here. I think you're coming back down to these numbers here, like 1950 to 2000. And I don't think it's actually going to break down from there. I mean, maybe get wicks below, but that's okay. But, you know, that kind of invalidates the current rally setup. But for right now, on the daily time frame, you got higher lows. You could argue that this is an ascending triangle right here as well. It's okay. It's not ideal because you don't have hidden bullish evidence on this, what would be that next higher low. So that's not ideal. But at the same time, I can understand that and should give some credence to that. Now, when I go to the higher term timeframes, which do hold more weight, the weekly time frame is very obviously having 1, 2, almost 3 rejections of the 21 EMA as it crossed underneath the 200 simple. So I'm more inclined to say that it will come down from here. What does that mean for Bitcoin? Bitcoin probably comes down from here as well. So, you know, do I have to really revisit my overall thoughts on Bitcoin? Possibly, yeah. I mean, shit, man, got to keep it honest. Yeah, I mean, if Ethereum is going to do that, it's hard to see that Bitcoin goes up to like 85 or 87 first, right? So definitely possible. But for me, I think it's easier to analyze Bitcoin right now still. Bitcoin above 78,000 bucks, no problem. Still a bullish buys, can pull back there. That's okay. Even below 78, you got one more line of hopium around 76,500, but below there, yeah, it's going to be another very likely 10% slide to the downside at minimum. And all these things come back down to those previous range lows, which again, in my opinion, is a major opportunity. I think that's going to be probably the next, or sorry, probably the last opportunity to, you know, to get in around these cycle lows. I mean, even then, I mean, you know, if we fast forward a few years from now, these, you know, these areas over here are probably going to look good anyways. But yeah, we're talking about like we're talking about profit maximization, profit maxing. I'm gonna looks max with my profit maxings. Yes, that also helps. If you want to looks max, just profit max. It works, especially in the United States. Bitches love riches. Crazy idea. Yeah, but of course, you don't want to find a girl exactly like that. Look, if you're fucking poor, find a girlfriend right now, because you're going to have a very difficult time finding it when you're rich. Or, I mean, you're going to have a very easy time finding it, but you're going to have a very difficult time finding a good one. Anyways, yeah, we just looked at gold versus Bitcoin. How low will Shield go? Shield, I do own a very large chunk of this as well, from significantly lower. But the question is, how low will it go? How low will it go? I think you at least come down to like 63-ish. So I think the majority of this downside move is probably done. You're going to hit the weekly 55 EMA pretty soon at 64.5. You got the quarterly 5 EMA coming in at 63. So somewhere in that pocket there makes a lot of sense. I think that you will see a bounce. The question is, how high does that bounce get? And does this get solidified as the next higher low on the higher term timeframe scale? Because when I look at the other higher term timeframes, it does not, looks like it might go down a lot more actually. But yeah, somewhere around 63 to 64, I'm looking for a bounce here. If that bounce fails, then I think it's time to scale out of, you know, at least of a good majority of my long-term position, and likely reposition lower. I mean, I do like this thing long-term, but for right now, you know, got to call a spade and A little bit more short-term downside. At that point, though, that's where I would start to invalidate bullishness again below about 63 on a weekly closing basis. Rosie poop. Rosie, she hasn't been eating her poops recently, which is good. One moment. Lomachilla Azul is looking at APT. I'm guessing this is the stonk. Let's check it out. APT, Alpha Pro Tech. Great name. Great chart in the short term. And honestly, does have a real chance to complete the reversal here. You've seen a higher low. Okay, let me put it on log for a moment. Seen a higher low on the 200 simple. You're back around the previous range highs. This is a setup to actually break higher. This is more likely to be a setup to break higher. You've already retested that previous range high. So yeah, you got higher lows, same highs, going to pull back here in the short term, sure. But shit, it already kind of did pull back. I mean, fuck, man, it already came down to like 580 today. I don't know if we fast forward a couple, like a month from now, I think that this thing's trading above that range high and probably, closer to $10 or something like that, man. Not bad. Jedi's ripping. I should actually did pick this one up recently, and full disclosure, I do own Jedi now. And is it ripping is the real question. And it's going up here, but not like a crazy. I mean, if you're on like the hourly time frame, sure, it's a rip. But yeah, overall, I like it. Even though my LARP lines over here were absolutely invalidated. So I picked this one up about a week ago, somewhere in this range right here. Doesn't really seem to be like the biggest winner of all time, but doing decently here. Yeah, I like it. And I think you got a very easy invalidation for bullishness, which is simply just this week's low. So I like that setup. That's why I took it. And, do I think it's popping back up to 30 plus? Most likely, yes. So yeah. So you said, so did I like it. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, look, I love the narrative of this thing. I love the, just like the overall idea of this thing, like drone and modern warfare ETF. I mean, that's right up my fucking alley. It's just, without the long-term history, it does make it kind of difficult. So yeah, I did put a position in, relatively small, just because of the lack of history, but so far so good and super easy to manage. So, these are always setups that I like, that I will lean into. Taco, is that a thing? Taco coin? Taco coin, TACO. Is, I don't know, is this a real request? Oh God, it's one of these charts. Yeah, don't have any opinions on this, just fucking sideways bullshit. SDA says, yeah, I base my trade on the daily because of that too. Yeah, super easy, man. Super easy as well. Wayne Batson says, I also own Jedi now. Yeah, let's fucking pump it, baby. Pump that Jedi up. It's a good name as well, Jedi. I likes it a lot. Yeah, man. Let's see. We got anything else here? Just looking across my listy here. Jesus, triple Q's like well above $700 now. God damn. Next stop, 718. Jesus Christ. It feels like a guilty pleasure just holding these things for the long term. I always want to remind myself though of the truth is that I'm not a genius. I'm just in a bull market. That's all that's going on here. I ain't a fucking genius. I'm just in a bull market at this moment. CIFR or TAN. How about CIFR? We've looked at this one before, like I think many weeks ago. Yeah, good consolidation here at a lot, on all-time highs. So I look at that as actually very, very good. Is it ready to break out right now, or does this happen later? That's the real question. Closing above 2294 confirms breakout. I think it will get confirmed. It's just a matter of time, not necessarily like that it's not going to. Where would I invalidate that statement? I mean, obviously a range low here is about $12. Below there, I'd get bearish on it. Until then, bullish. I mean, it's pretty good. What even is this? Cipher Digital? What do they do? Data processing? Yeah, that seems to be the hot thing right now. Strong buy, you say? Oh, I'm on log scale right now. This thing's had a pretty epic run actually since April of last year, from $2 to 20, so 10x. My God, man, these things just go fucking nutso. They're just going absolutely nutso, man. Anyways, I'll read through a few more of these and then we'll call it a day. Siraj says, hey, Uncle Krown, daily SIVEF. Okay. I'm guessing this is like an OTC thing. Wait, what? SIVEF. Okay, got it. It is OTC, of course. I don't know, man. A little bit too new. Looks like potentially a blow off right there, but I don't have a real opinions on this thing, man. You know, when it's this new, it can easily reaccumulate around like $4 and then try to the upside again. It's just not going off of much here. So if I'm looking at the weekly, yeah, that's a top, but whatever. You know, like I said, it can reaccumulate lower. It's just that new. It doesn't really mean that much. So yeah, hard for me to say anything. Rather be hated is QCOM on the week. Okay. Qualcomm. Yeah, good here on this rally, of course, you know, popping back up to a previous high really validates this as a constructive uptrend with your next higher low on hidden bullish divergence. So I do think you are getting ready for new all-time highs. I don't know about this month, but if it is going to happen, maybe like later this month, because I think short term is a pullback. But between this month and next month, very likely new all-time highs. Probably also in December as well. This is like a good setup. Your quarterly also has hidden bullish divergence pending this quarter's close, and also a bullish engulfing as well in the quarter. Like, this is good, man. Don't overthink these things. As long as you're above 208, the breakout's real. But short term, you might see a bit of a pullback just because, you know, you did hit a previous high, and that's very common to happen. So if it pulled back to like 200, that's okay on a daily. Just don't want to see like higher term time frame closures, you know, below, like, let's just call it $200. A little bit easier to kind of manage off that. You need to move the new banner behind your face to the side a little bit. It's going to get cut off by your face. Oh yeah, I did kind of fuck that up. It looks like my apologies, or I don't know, maybe like this. No. What? How come on the other overlay it actually worked quite well, but this one not working as well? Maybe like this? No. What? That's weird. What the fuck? Hold on. Let me find, where is the overlay? Oh, I see. The overlay is down there. Thus, wait, where is it? Okay, let me try this. There we go. That's better, I think. I don't know. I'll figure that shit out later, man. Too much for one day, sir. When Metasignal token, they're going to have an announcement this month, I do believe. Selwyn Cattell. Hopefully I'm getting that right, man. SLNH. SLNH. Soluna Holdings. Eerily close to Solana, man, and that's probably not a good thing. Really fucking ugly here, man. Really like, why? You must have inside information or something. I guess the bet is on another one of these popcorn rallies happening. I don't like that as a game. I don't play that as a game. I think the only game is to wait for this thing to have one of these popcorn rallies and then short it, and to like kind of try to guess where the popcorn rally is going to happen from. Very difficult, and you're probably just going to lose money through death by 1,000 paper cuts. So yeah. I don't know if it does have a pop up here. I guess like $3 is what I'd be looking towards, but to long something that looks like this is just fucking lunacy. It's just ridiculous. So I would wait for it to rally, then short it rather than just long it and hope for a rally, because long term, this is what it does. It's just, this is as bad as it gets. It's as bad as it fucking gets. I mean, for fuck's sake, man. Hopefully you do have insider information and it's good. Got to bounce. Have a great day. You as well, man. Take care. BE first weekly red close pullback levels. Check it out. Yeah, remember this one had a pretty epic run. Been bullish on it for a while. So is it getting its first pullback now? Is the real question. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, when these epic rallies start to pull back, it's going to be violent and take no prisoners. This one's already come down nearly 20%. That's a lot. That is a lot. So, dear Lord, man. Anyways, as far as this thing goes, you actually might already have your next higher low in around there at like 240. To reconnect with the 5 EMA and the weekly as well. So, and you filled the gap. Yeah, man, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say this morning's low you could use as sort of a setup area. So here's the thing. It hit the 3 extension. So we did expect a pullback from there. That was also a big, massive $300 round number. Now coming down, I guess it'd be a little bit optimistic to look for a low here, but it's easy to manage, which is what I like. So as long as they're closing above about 245, I would treat it as a higher low. If it does lose that number, then I'd be looking much lower at around 215 to 220. But until then, higher term time frames, I mean, again, they're very aggressive here. if you've been in this trade for a while, I think you got to be taking some profits within this region. But you know, do you maybe print like one more new all-time high, two more new all-time highs into June? Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to get like full on bearish on this thing until at least next quarter. But for right now, you actually might already even have the low in. Like I said, it's super easy to manage if you do lose that 240 low. At that point, I'd validate a much deeper correction. Like I said, in the short term, you'd be looking at like 220, but personally, I don't think 220 would hold. I think that you come down all the way to 200, so it'd kind of like be a zig and a zag down there. But ultimately, I'd be erring on the side of further upside here, honestly, until June. This has been a very aggressive rally, and you know, yeah, I don't want to fade that until I get like objective signals that it's actually failing. And I assume that you've been in this thing for a long time because, well, we've gone over this thing like for, man, we started bringing this one up, like people started bringing this one up like back in December, I think. So yeah. Cool. All right. Selwyn says, LOL, thank you for your insight. Got a quick 100% in and out. Fucking nice, man. Hell yeah. I love it. I love it. Have you had any Cuban pork yet? I haven't, man. I haven't. My diet is extremely limited. I do not fuck around with my diet. I just have so many, I don't know, my body's just like super sensitive for whatever reason. And so I try not to veer off out of like extremely simple things. Chicken and rice, beef, eggs, stuff like that, man. Recently, I incorporated guacamole. I start to fart a lot. Maybe it's not good. Anyways, others, BTC. Got to drive a hidden bullish divergence right there. I don't know if it really matters, but in the short term, I think that you do probably trade up a little bit towards 1289 or 12.9, whatever that means. Do I think it's reversing here? Probably not. But I don't know. Has it bottomed? Oh, God. Oh, we have... Others, oh no, it's a comment. Others BTC has bottomed as well. Alt season incoming. Good luck with that, man. Maybe it has, but I think that whatever rally you get here is doomed. Whether it tops out where it's already at, probably likely. Whether it goes up to like 16 or 17 cents or whatever the fuck that number is, I don't know. But yeah. Krown, will Central Command execute BPTJISD? I don't know what that acronym means. It also just might not be English. Yeah, I don't, could you type it out one more time? Try like different words though, because I don't understand what you're asking there. Assie's looking at NNE. Okay, cool. This is nano-nuclear. And limited chart history here, so I don't want to have like... Yeah, I don't want to be having any like strong opinions on this thing. I guess the idea here, Asti, is that you're probably looking for a reversal because why? Because you have technically a weekly higher low in place, but you also need to reclaim the previous range high, which is 30.30. If you can do that on a weekly closing basis, I would call the reversal and I guess send it back up to like 40, 50 bucks, whatever. It's a big move. I mean, shit, that's more than a 50% move from there. But for right now, like it's too new. I don't really have a strong call on this. Probably some good reason to be optimistic here, but still, I'd want to see this number reclaimed before leaning into that. And even then, I just never feel that confident when it comes to lower history. What's it called? Charts. Try bacteria for less farts. Wait, what? Wait, what's up? We did do lunar. Still bullish again, continues to remain above my pivots. I feel like I've said the same thing on lunar for God, it must be like 3 to 4, maybe even 5 weeks now. Look, I'm still holding $23 on a weekly closing basis is my line in the sand. As long as you're above there, I hold, and I'm looking for 40 plus. Yeah. Nothing new there. You have ever eat goat and lamb? Lamb's great. Goat, I don't think I've ever had, man. Do people eat goats? What's up, Creighton C? Good to see you, man. All good, man. All good. Forgot. Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Anyways, I think we're probably getting to the end of the stream here. We've been on for what? Oh, almost 2 hours. Dear Lord. Wayne Batson says, I have a strong opinion on NNE. I'm in it and it's going to moon. Nice. What does it do? Electrical products. I like it. Sounds cool. I'm in. Where do I sign up? Yeah, it might be. You know, there are some reason to be a little bit optimistic on this. Just I need to see a little bit more before I would personally lean into that. A little bit too new. And does a quarterly have anything going on here? Is this the next quarterly high or low? If so, it's going to be extremely fucking bullish. But yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on this, man. Too new. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. All right, last one for Piddle the Cat. He's looking at Nintendo 7974 on Nikkei Exchange. Not good. Great products, but not good as far as charts goes. Looking for some that's obvious here. If I had to call it, I think it probably comes down a little bit more. You're a lot closer to the next macro low than you're not, but perhaps some... You got to be ready that it could potentially come all the way down to 6,000. Long term, it's probably fine. It's probably good. I don't think Nintendo's dying or nothing like that. But this is a very aggressive downside move. And so the problem is that even if you do bottom out exactly where it's at, which I don't think it will, I think it comes down at least a little bit lower. It's probably going to take a long time going sideways and reaccumulating before it has any sort of real major upside move and try again. It's a NNE is a nuke stock. Oh dear Lord. It's a nuclear energy stock. Yes, better. Cool, man. All right, I think we shall end things on that. Thank you for that, Blake, and thank you for that, Mr. Hoy Hoy. Appreciate everyone joining in as always. It's been an absolute pleasure. When will we see Solana $5? I don't know, man. It might take a long time to get all the way down there, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, we'll end things on that note. As always, I want to wish everyone the best of the best. We shall come back to this on Monday. I'm going to be hard at work putting together the new streaming studio after this video. And yeah,